All right, well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to yet another installment of Night Skies of Fort Collins. Once again, my name is Ben Gondras, and I am the Dome Theater Manager at the Fort Collins Museum of Discovery, and it's my pleasure to bring this program to you to tell you a little bit about what you can find in the night sky. Now, I do want to mention before I get started that the Dome Theater itself is not quite open just yet. However, the museum is open, and you can head over to our website at fcmod.org/reopening to find out all of the details about what to do before you come. So we are doing time ticketing entry and requiring face masks, all that kind of good stuff to keep us all safe and healthy in this time. So make sure you do visit our website to know exactly what you need to know before you come in and see us in real life. So with that said, tonight I am going to show you some of the things that you can see in the night sky. I know here in Fort Collins, it's been a little bit stormy and cloudy most nights, but hopefully you've still been able to get out and see some pretty amazing things in the sky in those breaks in the clouds. So to show you the night sky, I'm going to be using a virtual planetarium program called Stellarium, which is right here. Let's see. Stellarium is a really cool piece of software. It's actually a free open source project, which means it's free to go and download. You can go to stellarium.org to download a copy for yourself, or use the web version there as well. And it's really useful to be able to look at the virtual night sky so that you can plan your stargazing trips accordingly. You can go to different locations around the Earth virtually, and you can change the time so you can see when things are going to be in the sky and where exactly to find them. Because if you've ever been out stargazing, you know that it's dark out there. It's hard to read things. So if you bring along a paper star chart or something like that, it can be difficult to reference those things in the dark. And you don't want to turn any lights on, of course, because that will ruin your night vision and you will have a harder time seeing the stars and other objects in the night sky. So it's really good to do your preparation beforehand by using a program like Stellarium so that you can get out there and see what you want to see. Now, with that said, I'm going to be talking tonight specifically about the night skies over Fort Collins, but luckily, as long as you're in the Northern Hemisphere, everything that I show you tonight should be visible from your location as well, given some slight differences in timing, just based on exactly where you're located. So if you're not in Fort Collins, that's fine. And if you're not watching from Fort Collins, or actually if you are even watching from Fort Collins, I would really love to know where exactly you're watching from and how many people you have watching with you. So if you feel like it, go ahead and leave a comment below and let me know where you're watching from and who's watching the show with you tonight. Awesome. So, and I should also mention that we do really appreciate any support that you can give to the museum. We've been offering these free live streams all throughout this time, and we plan on continuing to do so, but we really would love any support that you could throw our direction as well. And so you can head to fcmod.org/donate to make a tax-deductible donation in any amount that you would like, if that feels right to you. All right, so with that said, let's go ahead and jump into Stellarium and see what we can see in the night sky tonight. All right, so here we are looking at the night sky, as I said before, at the current time from here in Fort Collins. You can see I've got the location set down here to Fort Collins. So let's go ahead and let's move time forward faster than usual so that we can watch the sunset over here in the west. And if you've been paying close attention to the length of the sunlight each day, you may have been noticing actually that the sun has been setting a little bit earlier and earlier each night. And that's because we passed the summer solstice back in June, around June 20th. And at this point, the Earth is actually starting to tilt towards the southern hemisphere of the Earth is starting to tilt more towards the sun as we approach the winter solstice in December. And so the days are getting a little bit shorter and shorter each day, or excuse me, not the days are staying the same length, but the daylight is getting a little bit shorter and shorter each day. And as we approach the fall equinox in September, we will actually be seeing the sunset almost directly in the west. So you can keep your eyes open for that. All right, now, of course, the big astronomy news at this time is Comet Neowise. And Comet C2020 F3 Neowise continues to delight as an evening comet. And you can still find it. It is getting dimmer and dimmer as it gets farther and farther away from the sun, but you can still find it by looking in the northwest sky about an hour after sunset. So let's go ahead and speed up time a little bit more so we can get to about 9:30. There we go. All right, and we'll slow back down to real time now. And if we look in the northwest, you'll see a pattern of stars that should be pretty familiar to you and to most everyone. This is, of course, the Big Dipper. The Big Dipper is an asterism made up of these 7 stars, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. That is actually part of the larger constellation of Ursa Major, or the Big Bear. And to find Comet Neowise tonight, you're going to need to look a little bit to the left and down towards the horizon. Let's see if I can find it here. I believe it's somewhere in this direction. Yeah, it's getting a little bit harder to spot even in Stellarium. So I'm going to go ahead and cheat here and point it out with the system here. But this is kind of the cool part about Stellarium, is that you can just search for different things. Let's see. There we go. And Stellarium will find them in the sky for you. So there we go. So yeah, it looks like we're about 30 degrees away from the Big Dipper here. Kind of these back 2 stars in the ladle here. And if we zoom in, we can get a little bit of a closer look at this virtual version of Comet Neowise. Now, if you're going to go out and try to find Comet Neowise, you'll definitely want binoculars at this time. The comet is getting farther and farther away from the sun and the Earth, and so it will continue to dim through the rest of the month, but it should stay visible through the end of the month. And in fact, here is, let me just switch my screen here and show you a view of what that looks like from outside the solar system. So here is a solar system view, and you can see Comet Neowise here with its highly elliptical orbit coming all the way out from the Oort cloud and passing by the sun here. And you can see its current location as it goes away from the sun. And one interesting thing to note, let me make this a little larger. One interesting thing to note is that the comet is moving in this direction to the right in the screen here. But you can see that the tail is also kind of pointing in that direction. And that's because the tail always points away from the sun, because it's actually the solar wind or the radiation emitting from the sun that is creating that tail. So that's pretty cool to see. All right, let's switch back to Stellarium here. All right. So once again, if you want to find Comet Neowise, you're going to need to look in the northwest sky, just a little bit over to the left of the Big Dipper, by about 30 degrees. Okay, so if we actually stay facing this direction and move time forward a little bit further, we're going to see another very bright object enter the sky from above that northwestern horizon. And we're going to need to go to about 10:30 to see this object. And before we even see it, I'm wondering if anyone has any guesses as to what I might show you next. And you might get a better idea once you actually see it in the sky here. Oh, there it is. Let me slow down time to real time. So hopefully you see that bright object just underneath the Big Dipper once again. And does anyone have any guesses as to what this bright object is? Well, it's moving differently than the stars, as you can see. It's moving quite quickly, actually. We're at real time, so you can see the clock is moving ahead at 1 second. Well, this bright object is, in fact, the International Space Station. That's right. Tonight, at about 10:30, you will be able to see the International Space Station, at least if you're here in Fort Collins. And the International Space Station is, of course, the orbiting laboratory where humans have been residing for about 20 years now, actually. And it's about 250 miles above the surface of the Earth. And they do all kinds of science experiments there in biology, engineering, all kinds of different science experiments that can only be done in the low gravity environment of the space station. If you're ever wondering if the space station is going to be above you in the night sky, a really good resource to look at is spotthestation.nasa.gov. And that website will tell you exactly when the space station will be passing overhead for your location. And one really cool thing that they do actually is you can enter your phone number and get text message alerts anytime there is a flyover of the space station in your location. Again, that's spotthestation.gov or .nasa.gov. Excellent. Lula, yep, you got it. That is the space station. So there it goes. And in just a little bit, it will disappear once again. So it's always a special sight to see when you get to spot that space station. And if we swing around to the southwest, we see another bright object here. And this bright object is not moving like the space station was anyways. And you guys probably can guess what this bright object is. And if you are guessing that this is the moon, you would be correct. So let's go ahead and zoom into the moon to see what phase it's in currently. So zooming into the moon, we can see that the illuminated side is on the right side of the moon, which means that the illumination is increasing night after night. That means this is a waxing gibbous moon. It's more than a crescent, so that's what makes it a gibbous. And the moon will be full on Monday, actually, August 3rd. And so tonight is a pretty good night to go check out the moon. The ideal condition to look at the surface of the moon is actually during the quarter moon or the first quarter moon, which we just passed a few days ago. And you might be wondering, well, I can't see the whole surface, but that's because the light is actually hitting it from the side. And you can see a lot of the elevation features really nicely when that happens. And so a lot of people like to identify a lot of these craters and things that lie right along that terminator or the boundary between the light and dark side of the moon. All right, turning even farther south here, we're going to move time forward even more, and we're going to go to about 1:30 in the morning. And that is so that we can see a meteor shower that is happening at this time of year. And that meteor shower is the Southern Delta Aquarid. The southern Delta Aquariid meteor shower peaks early this morning with a maximum rate of about 20 meteors per hour. The best time to watch for meteors is an hour or two before sunrise at about 4 a.m. local time. The shower's radiant, or where the meteors will seem to be emanating from, is in the constellation of Aquarius. Oh, sorry. This is Aquarius, the water bearer. And it will be about 30 degrees high on the south-southwest for observers at mid-northern latitudes like us here in Fort Collins. You'll find the radiant about 17 degrees northwest of the bright star Fomalhaut, which is located right here in the constellation of Piscis Austrinus, which is actually a southern constellation, a southern hemisphere constellation that is the southern fish. Early morning meteor hunters will also get an added bonus. As you can see here, Jupiter and Saturn are also in the sky just to the right of the southern Delta Aquariid meteor shower. Both make great targets with binoculars or a small telescope, which will reveal Saturn's rings, and depending on where you look, 3 or 4 of Jupiter's largest moons. And in fact, all this summer, there's no missing Jupiter or Saturn on any starry evening. Jupiter is the brightest point in the evening sky, as you can see right here. Actually, let me turn off the meteor showers. There we go. So Jupiter is the brightest point in the evening sky, and Saturn, just to the left of it, is truly the Lord of the Rings in this latest snapshot from NASA's Hubble Space Telescope, which was actually just taken on July 4th, when the opulent giant world was 839 million miles from Earth. This new Saturn image was taken during the summer in the planet's northern hemisphere. So much like the Earth has seasons because it's tilted on its axis, Saturn is also tilted on its axis and so also experiences seasons. Let's see, I've got some comments. Yes, 4 a.m. our time will be when the shower will peak. That is correct. All right. Now, the Sagittarius teapot lies just to the right of Jupiter and Saturn, and you can actually see it here dipping down as the night goes on, and it will continue to dip down and pour out water. You can imagine the spout of the teapot located here, and the teapot is actually part of the larger constellation of Sagittarius, the Archer. Now, there's some other planets in the night sky right now. Neptune, Mars, and Uranus create a trio of planets. If we look to the southeast, we can see Mars, bright orange Mars, located right here. However, Neptune and Uranus are going to be much harder to spot as they are very, very distant from us. But Neptune is located right about here, and if you have binoculars or a large telescope even, you'll have a much easier time of seeing Neptune. But here is blue Neptune, and you can see its very, very faint rings. And next we have Uranus, located to the left of Mars. And actually here you might be able to faintly see it, but if we zoom in, here is Uranus. Again, with its very, very faint ring system and its blue-greenish hue. Uranus might be a pretty good target for binocular viewing, although it will appear as just a bluish star in your binoculars. And if we continue to move time forward, again, we'll go till about an hour before sunrise. For all of you early risers out there, about an hour before sunrise at 4:50, let's see, let's go a little further here. Hopefully you already see some bright objects coming into view here, but this bright object here is, of course, the planet Venus. And about an hour before sunrise, Venus is about 24 degrees above the horizon. And down and very low to the horizon is the planet Mercury, as you can see, just about 3 degrees above the horizon. These two planets will gain altitude with time, but the sky will continue to brighten as well as the sun rises. Mercury is currently at a magnitude of negative 0.7. And if you recall the magnitude scale, the lower the number, the brighter the object. And Mercury is located in the constellation of Gemini, the twins. And you can see Venus is located in the constellation of Taurus, the bull. All right. So with that said, I wanted to tell you about another very special event that is happening tomorrow, hopefully, fingers crossed. And that is going to be the launch of a mission to this planet right here. This, of course, again, is Mars. And the mission is called the Mars Perseverance rover. And it's part of NASA's Mars Exploration Program, which is a long-term effort of robotic exploration of the red planet. And here is a model of that rover. The Mars Perseverance mission addresses high-priority science goals for Mars exploration, including key questions about the potential for life on Mars. The mission takes the next step by not only seeking signs of habitable conditions on Mars in the ancient past, but also searching for signs of past microbial life itself. The Mars Perseverance rover introduces a drill that you can see extending on this arm here that can collect core samples of the most promising rocks and soils and set them aside in a cache on the surface of Mars. And hopefully in the near future, we will be able to actually go and retrieve those samples and bring them back to Earth. The mission also provides opportunities to gather knowledge and demonstrate technologies that address the challenges of future human expeditions to Mars. And these include testing a method for producing oxygen from the Martian atmosphere, identifying other resources such as subsurface water, improving landing techniques, and characterizing weather, dust, and other potential environmental conditions that could affect future astronauts living and working on Mars. Now, the mission is timed for a launch opportunity in the next 2 weeks when Earth and Mars are in good positions relative to each other for landing on Mars. That is, it takes less power to travel to Mars at this time compared to other times when the Earth and Mars are in different positions in their orbits. The first launch opportunity is actually scheduled for tomorrow morning at 7:50 Eastern Time, which for us here in Fort Collins is 5:50 a.m. So you're gonna have to get up pretty early to get to watch this launch, which I know personally I'm definitely going to do. The Mars 2020 spacecraft with its Perseverance rover will launch on an Atlas IV 541 rocket, which you can see pictured here on the launch pad from Launch Complex 41 at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station in Florida. The Atlas V is actually one of the largest rockets available for interplanetary flight. And this is the same type of rocket that launched the InSight and Curiosity rovers to Mars. The launch vehicle is provided by United Launch Alliance, which is actually headquartered here in Colorado, in Centennial, Colorado, just south of Denver. To keep mission costs and risk as low as possible, the Mars 2020 design is based on NASA's successful Mars Science Laboratory mission architecture, including its Curiosity rover and proven landing system. Now, Perseverance is actually not going to Mars alone. It's taking a little buddy with itself. And this little buddy is called Ingenuity and is the first NASA Mars helicopter to, well, actually first aircraft to fly in a controlled way on another planet. And in this animation, you can see it here. As its own separate mission, the helicopter will hitch a ride to Mars attached to the belly of NASA's Perseverance rover. In this animation, it simulates how Ingenuity will operate on the surface of Mars. The Ingenuity helicopter is considered a high-risk, high-reward technology demonstration, which means if the small craft encounters difficulties, the science gathering of the Mars 2020 mission won't be impacted. It's actually its own separate mission, just kind of hitching a ride there with Perseverance. Standing under 2 feet tall and weighing less than 4 pounds, Ingenuity is fairly limited in its capabilities. Essentially, it's designed to take off and then hover no more than a few dozen feet above the surface, and of course, be able to maneuver through Mars' thin air. Mars's atmosphere is much thinner than Earth's atmosphere, which makes flying an aircraft there quite difficult. And it must also land on flat terrain. And it also has solar panels built into the top of it that you might have seen before it took off there. And another aspect of this mission is to make sure that it is able to charge itself with those solar panels, as well as survive the extremely cold nights on Mars. Because of that very thin atmosphere on Mars, it does not retain a lot of heat in the nighttime. So it gets very, very cold there at night. Now, future Mars helicopters could potentially be much larger and more capable, allowing them to explore expansive or hard-to-reach areas far more quickly than traditional rovers. And these next-generation aerial robots could even serve as scouts that collect samples and return them to landers or wheeled rovers for scientific analysis. So we're hoping for a good launch window tomorrow morning at 7:50 Eastern Time or 5:50 Mountain Time. And hopefully we get to see Perseverance landing on Mars in February of next year. It takes quite a while for spacecraft to go from Earth to Mars. All right. Well, with that said, that does bring me to the end of my show tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed it and perhaps learned something new and saw something that you might want to go check out in the night sky yourself. Once again, if you have any questions for me, please feel free to leave those in the comments below, and I will stick around for a couple of minutes here to answer any of those questions that you might have. And as well, if you did enjoy tonight's program, I do encourage you to head to our website to leave a small donation to support us in these efforts to bring you these kinds of programs and different experiences in your own homes. And once again, thank you so much for joining me. And if you do have comments, please feel free to leave those in the questions or the comments below. All right. Oh, thank you, Diane. It's so nice to hear that you're watching from Garden City, Kansas, and finding it informative. Let's see, 4 a.m. our time. Yes, I think I answered that already, actually. Yes, 4 a.m. our time will be the peak for the meteor shower. And for meteor showers, the best way to look at them is really just to go out and lay a blanket out and just watch the sky. And ideally, you'll be able to see some meteors passing overhead. About 20 an hour is the peak, so it's not a lot. But if you just lay out on a grassy field or something like that on a blanket, just make a nice evening of it, that would be the best way to check out a meteor shower. Excellent. I know, I'm so excited for the launch too. Not necessarily excited to get up at 5 o'clock, but you know, we do what we have to do. All right. Well, I don't see any questions coming in. So once again, thank you all for joining me tonight for Night Skies of Fort Collins. And I hope you learned something, and I hope you keep looking up at the sky. And yeah, we'll see you at the next one. All right. Have a great night, everyone.